us again. We are at, or not.
It says we're live.
Okay, I think we're live. Sorry, we were just double checking. So we are at Confluence, which is SAWS 5th Annual Water Summit. We have students come and show off some water projects, and some of the different SAWS departments are also here exhibiting sort of what they do and letting the students learn a little bit more about it. And so today I'm here with Anna. Anna works at our lab, and so thank you for joining us, Anna.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about the lab and what the exhibits? I mean, just start wherever you're comfortable.
Sure. Our laboratory serves SAWS both on the water side and the wastewater side. Some of the booths that we have representations of all the different areas that we test different samples for. So for instance, we have a booth over here where we look at micro samples and plating samples from different media that we've grown, and we look at different microorganisms to test the water and see how well it does. We also have a place where we look at the biomonitoring, everything that when the water goes through our plants and it comes out at the end, the effluent goes into the rivers or streams or back into the recycling, and so there's indicator fish and species that we look at to make sure the water is healthy. On the other side, we have some general chemistry tests, some reactions that are going on, oxidation reactions, balancing reactions. We have extractions that we do in the laboratory. So all of these booths have places where the kids can interact and they can do their own setups of the different tests.
So it definitely is a very interactive booth. I think it's probably one of the most interactive booths here.
Yes.
And so you guys have been participating all 5 years?
We have. I think this is actually our 4th year. It may be our 5th year, but
okay,
yeah.
Great. And so is this always a student favorite? I've already seen students lined up waiting for us to move out of the way so they can come through and do some of the activities.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you talk about some of the activities back here?
Okay, so back here we have a little game that we play. So on the game, it's like a Wheel of Fortune, and so there's questions on here for the kids to answer, and if they get the right answer, they get one of these little Erlenmeyer flasks.
And they're squishy, right?
And they're squishy, yeah, they're stress relief. So there we go.
Great. And what is some of this back here?
This over here is kind of both in the laboratory and what they do in the field. So when they bring a sample into us to test for bacteria, they have to do what's called a chlorine residual. And so we have a little Hawk meter, a little handheld meter, and the kids will be able to, we made some solutions up, and so they'll be able to actually test the water for chlorine residual. And so that's what we have over here.
Now, right behind you, and be careful with the cord here, I don't want you to trip, but behind you, you have a very visual, colorful setup here. You want to talk about that?
This is, if you look at the picture over here, this is part of our laboratory, and right here is what we call fats, oil, and greases extractions, and that's, if you're familiar with the grease monster, they bring samples in and we test for amount of grease or fats that is in that sample, and so those numbers get translated into however much per pound, and so we get an idea of how much is going into the sewer system.
Oh yeah. How often does SAWS test water?
We test it every day. There's many different tests going on. What we show here is just a very small example. We have at any one time, we could have maybe about 20 to 30 different testing going on in a day, maybe more. And we test the waters, both the water and the wastewater, every day, including the weekends and the holidays. So.
Do we have any other questions coming through yet? Not yet. Okay, great. So as you can see, there's already some students participating. I don't know if we can get Danny to pan over there. There's some students participating and learning about the work the lab does. Our lab is made up of lots of chemists and biologists and scientists that help us keep our drinking water safe.
That's right.
Kind of intense back here, guys. I think we may have to cut this one short. The students are obviously in this space, and there's lots of activities.
Someone asked, is this the area that deals with boil water notices?
We test the water, and we give that information over to our resource protection, and they're the ones who do the notifications.
So I'm obviously part of the communications department at SAWS, and yes, our lab is always available to us 24 hours a day to test when we have boil water notices. They test, and they're the ones that tell us when the water is once again safe to be consumed. And as soon as we get that notification from the lab, sometimes at 4 a.m., sometimes at 2 a.m., or whenever that test actually comes through, we then inform the public as needed. But it is our lab that runs the tests that inform the rest of the SAWS team on when it is that we can give the go-ahead on the safe drinking water.
That's right. That's correct.
Any other questions? No? Our lab is a sort of a hidden gem, I think. We are very fortunate at SAWS to have a really it's a well-staffed, large lab that is our lab. And so I think we're gonna cut it a little shorter than we expected to, just because we are in the way of the fun that these students are supposed to be having. Hope we'll be a little bit quieter. And if you guys have some specific questions for the lab, let us know, and we are happy to maybe revisit with them before the end of the day. So thanks guys for joining.
Thank you.